Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we will look at introducing fractions. So you've probably seen a fraction before. It's just part of a number. So let's say we have here this circle. It's been divided into sixths. So what fraction of this circle is shaded? Well, what we do with a fraction, we write some number over some number. This middle line here, called the vernaculum, we read it as over. It really means divide. So here we have divided the circle into 6 parts, and 5 of those parts are shaded. And that means 1/6, one of these 6 parts is unshaded. So each of these are called fractions. They're parts of a whole. Both of them are less than one whole. You can see that less than whole of the circle is shaded, less than whole of the circle is unshaded. So the top number of a fraction is called the numerator. It represents the parts we have. And the bottom of the fraction is called the denominator. It's the parts that something has been divided into. So for example, if I said 3/5 of all year 7 students do their homework, what I'm really doing is I'm dividing year 7 students into 5 equal groups, and 3 of those groups do their homework. The other 2 parts, the other 2 groups do not do their homework. So fractions are parts of a whole. They're how we represent when a quantity has been divided into parts or groups. So remember, this line here means divide. So 3/5 means 3 divided by 5. You sometimes see fractions like this called improper fractions, where the number at the top, the numerator, is larger. So because this line means divide, 8/2 means 8 divided by 2 is the same as the number 4, and 35 divided by 5 is just 7. So when you have a larger number on top, then the fraction is more than a whole. This is like 7 wholes and 4 wholes. When you have fractions like 5/6 and 3/5, they're called proper fractions because the numerator is less. Each of these is less than a whole. All right, let's now look at fractions on the number line. So here we have a number line, and you would be used to seeing number line with integers or whole numbers here. But here I've divided it into fractions. So because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions between each whole number, this is divided into quarters. So a quarter would be here, then we have 2 quarters and 3 quarters. But we can also have negative fractions as well as positive fractions. So a quarter, because we don't give it a sign, we assume it's positive a quarter. It's more than 0. Negative a quarter is a quarter less than 0. And so it goes -2/4 and -3/4. So the number line never stops. Between 2 integers is a whole bunch of fractions. So again, 1/4 is a proper fraction. This represents something divided into 4 parts where you have one of those parts. So remember, with a number line, that numbers to the left are smaller. So 1/4 is less than 2 quarters, 2 quarters is less than 3 quarters, and all of them are less than 1. And you probably know that from common sense. If I give you a quarter of a pizza, that's less than if I gave you the whole pizza. But all of these negative numbers, they're less than 0. So -1/4 is less than 0 because it's to the left. But -1/4 is actually more than -1. Sometimes, say in Canberra, the temperature might be -1/4 degrees. It might be -0.25. That's actually warmer than if it was -1 degrees. So we can represent fractions on the number line. Fractions occur between integers or whole numbers. So let's look at this question here. How many dots are in 2/3 of this collection? So here we have a collection of 12 dots. So we're going to find 2/3 of this collection. So third, 3 on the bottom, means it's divided into 3 equal groups. So each of the groups will have 4 dots because 12 divided by 3 is 4. So this is 1/3 of the dots, 1/3 of the dots, 1/3 of the dots. So in 2/3 of this group, so we're saying that we've divided it into 3 groups and we have 2 of those groups. So in 2/3 of this group, 2/3 of the dots, we actually have 8 in total. So think of each of these dots, for example, as like a lolly. If I have 12 lollies and I give you 2/3 of those 12 lollies, I've given you 8. The bottom number, the denominator, tells you how many groups we've divided something into, and the numerator tells us how many groups that we have. So 2/3 is a proper fraction. Numerator's less than denominator, so this is less than a whole, as we see. You didn't get all of the lollies, you got less than the whole of the lollies. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.